work with then? What you want to work with is a surface, right? Like a piece of geometry that we made. So how do we turn these curves into a surface? That's really the big crux of what I want to talk to you guys about today. So let me go ahead and X out my render. All right. Now, I chose the word Mr. B rocks for a couple of reasons. First of all, M and R are just standard normal letters. The letter B has holes in it. We have to treat holes differently than we treat just standard letters. Are you following what I'm saying? Okay? R, same thing. O, same thing. And then X is a normal letter. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to come over here and I'm going to click on the word, on the letter M. While I'm here, instead of calling it curve 1, stupidest name in the whole entire world, that's what it is. M. I know that's cryptic. You may want to write that down. It's hard to remember, right? All right. Now that I've got it in place, what I'm going to do, ladies and gentlemen, I've got it named correctly. I've got the curve going on. I'm going to change my menu set. This is a menu set we haven't worked with yet. I do very limited amount of work in this menu set because, quite honestly, it's kind of the old school menu set. Not a lot of people use this menu set any longer. But there's a lot of still ridiculously powerful stuff in it. The menu set that I'm going to change to, currently I'm on animation. Normally I'm in polygons, you know, with the edit mesh and all that stuff like that. We've spent basically the whole year in. I'm actually going to change my menu set to surfaces. That you're going to want to write down. Because surfaces pulls up the other two kinds of geometry types that Maya can work with. Not only does it just work with polygons. I teach basically only polygons for the simple purpose of that's where the industry's going. Very few people use the other two kinds. Are you listening? Okay. The other two kinds are NURBS, which stands for non-unison rational B-splines. I'll explain that later on. I think I already have when we did temple lesson.
NURBS are stupid.
Yeah. NURBS are crazy. NURBS are completely different. That's what the industry started with. That's how we started designing cars, for example, 3D, and then cutting out a block in styrofoam and then making the body panels off that huge block instead of sculpting it out of clay like they used to. Okay? Then from there they came out with polygons, because polygons is what video game engines could handle. And then Pixar started basically this new kind of geometry. It was a blend between NURBS and polygons, because NURBS are silky smooth and they're round. Polygons are simple to work with. And you have all the control that you want. So they wanted all the control that you could want, and yet the silky smooth roundness. And so they came up with a hybrid of the two, and that's called subdivisions. And subdivisions is what every single thing that you look at in Pixar films are done with. Everything is sub-Ds. I don't teach sub-Ds anymore, sadly. Sub-Ds were pretty much my answer for a long time. I kind of became the sub-D king of Richardson because they're just that awesome. Sub-Ds are incredible. Problem with sub-Ds are to really render them beautifully, you need an extra special rendering engine, and the extra special rendering engine that they have out there, ladies and gentlemen, is put out by Pixar, and it's called RenderMan. But our district does not want to pony up a couple extra $1,000 per computer to put RenderMan on our computers. So, therefore, I began to reteach polygons and basically forget about teaching sub-Ds. Sub-Ds is amazing. I love subdivisions. Oh my gosh. So anyway, we have this.
Why don't you marry?
We have this curve. Some are already married. We have this curve. So what I'm going to do, you'll notice if you look very carefully, ladies and gentlemen, our surfaces menu is actually broken into two different areas. We have edit curves, surfaces, and edit NURBS, which once again is non-unison rational B-splines. Curves, surfaces, and NURBS, this is all kind of like the menu set of polygons. Mesh, edit mesh, and so forth. Then you have over here, my favorite little area, subdivisional surfaces. And it only has one menu. Why does it only have one menu? Because quite honestly, what you do with sub-Ds is you build a polygon first, and then you convert it into being a subdivision. You follow what I'm saying? And so you don't need a lot of control in the sub-D menu set because of the fact that you've done all your hard work in polygon. In fact, you guys know how we push the button 3 on your keyboard? They came out with 3 on your keyboard to show you what it would look like as a sub-D before you converted it. That was the whole functionality behind the 3. Okay? And then everybody said, well, this is stupid. Why are we still having to convert geometry? We got to get another rendering engine, blah, 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 blah. And so what they did was they just said, fine, we'll make it so that you can render smooth polygons. Okay? You don't have to convert to sub-Ds. And that was the beginning of the end for subdivisions. All right, so anyway. So what we're going to do is I've got edit curves, surfaces, and edit nerves. I'm going to begin to go in, and I always forget which one is in. Because like I said, I don't do a lot of work in surfaces any longer. If I'm not mistaken, it is, there it is, surfaces. Get this written down, guys. Surfaces, bevel plus.
What?
Surfaces, bevel plus. Now what bevel plus does, it's going to take those curves and first of all, it's going to extrude them. Second of all, it's then going to bevel the edge for you. And then thirdly, finish up and you'll have a piece of geometry. Yay. In like one fell swoop, bang, step. Okay? So we could have done all this the hard way. Or we can do this the smart way. How many guys like the smart way? I'm digging the crap out of the smart way too. Alright, so here we go.
This is Mr.
Alright,
B
so
teaching.
surfaces bevel plus, everybody's got that written down. I always go to the option box to get things set up. Let me kind of show you what's in this this option box. There's quite a few things in here. We just break it down. Most of it's pretty simple. And so when you kind of get an idea for what we're looking at, you understand exactly where we're headed. All right, so first thing. How are we going to create the bevel? We're gonna start at start. Whoa.
No.
And we're going to end at end.
Oh my gosh.
Whoa, man! Amazing!
That's ridiculous.
So we're going to start at the
What
start.
is this?
Make sure it's going to work. Mind-blowing. Alright, next thing. Bevel width and bevel depth. Now what this does is this. I have a square piece of geometry right here in front of my face, right? So I'm going to bevel it. I'm going to give this thing an edge. As I give this thing an edge, I need to know how far away to come from it, and then how far to go down. And in between those 2 points, you see what I'm saying? That's where I get my bevel. Whatever the bevel looks like, whether it goes swoopy like that, or straight, or, you know, whatever, I need to know boop and boop, and then we're good. So that's all that is. Okay? What is the distance away, then what is the distance down? No big deal. Next one, extrude distance. How thick do I want my geometry before I then put a bevel on it? That's all that is. How deep am I going to extrude? Or how thick is my letter? Everybody follow what I'm saying? Stupid simple so far, but it's good to know what it all means. Alright, so bevel width, bevel depth, extrude distance, and then from there you have an outer bevel and you have an inner bevel. So, here's my outer edge, here's my inner edge. I can have a neat swoopy over here and just go straight there. Follow what I'm saying? Normally I don't really care. I'm like, the same one there, it's the same one there, we're good.
Well, that's like manipulate the distance.
Well, afterwards, not as much. You can go, you know how we can go in over here in this editor, and you'll have right underneath here where it says shapes, it'll have, you know, input, and you can click on it, and yeah, you can go in this area, but you have to do it when you first create the piece of geometry, because if you begin to manipulate it, it makes it basically not workable. Does that make sense? But yes, you can manipulate it when you first create it. Great question, by the way. Alright, so from there, You'll notice we have same as outer style, so I can make the inner bevel same as the outer bevel. Okay, no big deal. And then we have a couple little tolerances down there on the bottom you don't ever even have to worry about. That's the whole menu set. Pretty simple, right? Alright, now, so I'm basically going to leave everything alone. I've got my bevel, my width and my depth set at 0.1, my extrude distance 0.25. I have straight out and straight out. So what that means is it's going to go across and down, and I'm just going to get an angled line. That's what my bevel is going to look like. Okay? I could go convex, I could go concave, I could, all kinds of crazy stuff. Alright, so with that letter selected, ladies and gentlemen, and I've gone into bevel plus in my option box, I'm just going to simply click bevel.
Magic.
And now, when I hit 6 on my keyboard, you're going to see exactly what it does.
Oh, snap.
So, this right here, this is the extrude distance, how deep it made the letter, and then if we came out 0.1 and went down 0.1, there's the bevel in between, the angle that's created. Follow what I'm saying? Real simple. Now, I can actually click on this letter and move it away, and you're going to notice that's still there. Okay? Why is that still there? Because it's a separate piece of geometry. You have the curve, then you have the shape. Okay?
So cool.
Now, what happens if you go in, and this is always fun, I love when kids freak out about this. What happens if I go in and I delete the curve?
Control Z.
Standardly what happens, I'm surprised it didn't do it that time, but standardly what happens is it deletes the letter too. Because those two are hooked together in their history. One was made from the other. So when you delete the first, you normally delete the second as well. Okay? That's normally what happens. Why it didn't happen this time, maybe it didn't. Alright, so now once I've got everything set, the cool thing is I just click on my next letter and hit G on my keyboard.
It's so cool.
Oh my god. Oh my.
Now G is like one of my favorite keyboard shortcuts. There's like two of my favorite keyboard shortcuts on the keyboard. One is F, and that frames whatever I currently have selected. And you guys have moved around in your scene, and the camera's like all screwed up, and it's somewhere, and it won't go where you want it to go, and you're like, well, I'll click on whatever I want to look at, and I'll hit F, and the camera will instantly go, swoop, and it'll just rotate around that object. Love F. I hit F more time. I don't even think about it anymore. I'm like, okay, let's look at that F. Second thing is whenever I do something like I'm extruding, for example. Extrude once, G. Extrude again, G. Extrude again.
So
Follow what I'm saying? I love that. It just repeats the same command again. So when I beveled once, if I want the same exact bevel, G.
Mr.
Right?
likes to bevel.
It doesn't do it with everything though. It's something
Yeah, it does.
Poly, which is especially annoying. 'Cause,
Yeah.
I mean, how many times do you only do one phase?
Well, the reason why it doesn't do split poly is because it's not in the menu. It's on the toolbar. Oh, yeah. Okay, now that one I'll definitely give you. Alright, so now we have the M. We also have the R.
The R looks
I
weird.
might go in and kind of mess with it because you can see how the R doesn't really look like we want it to.
It's gross.
You see how like these two pieces of geometry are kind of overlapping and intersecting one another?
It's ugly.
So this would be when I would probably rewind and go fix some of my extrude width and depth and all that stuff like that. Follow what I'm saying? Just to kind of clean it up a little bit. But for demonstrational purposes, we'll keep moving forward. Alright, so now I have a letter that has an outside curve, an inside curve, and yet behold, yet another inside curve. So how in the world do we do that? Because you can't, I can click on that curve, but there's no hole. So it doesn't really look like the letter B. It looks like
It's a butt.
sideways set of butt cheeks. I don't know what it is. It just doesn't look right? Alright, so let me come over here to the R, because R is a little more simple. It doesn't have two holes. It just has one hole. Does that make sense? So what I do to negotiate this is I simply click on the outside curve,